Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. You're looking at a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today's program will consist of JC and then Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. We'll talk about the Gators and the Kentucky Wildcats tomorrow in the O'Connell Center. Some news and notes. Gators picked up a couple guys out of the portal. Defensive end, rush edge guy from Northern Illinois, and then Pup Howard, who was high on their list a year or so ago from South Carolina. Good linebacker. He will definitely help the program. If you missed it, Quinshon Judkins, the Ole Miss running back, is in the transfer portal. My people tell me it's kind of a mutual deal. He was kind of a cancer in the locker room, and he wanted more money, and he will probably be an Auburn Tiger. Let's go to JC. You're on the Titan Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements.
That's great. Glad to be here. Thank you. Hello. Missed everybody, but had a good trip out west. Back now. Looking forward to January, February. Got some really exciting basketball to look forward to around here. And I know Chris is going to touch on this, but as I was getting myself updated, I noticed that Florida leads in many statistical categories, having done very well here in this latest run. They're 6-0 at home. Both teams are on winning streaks. Both teams have won 8 out of their last 10, and Kentucky comes in here as a conference favorite. So Florida, it would be well served to continue averaging 86 or more points and scoring a lot of points to try to have the opportunity to win this game. So I think an offensive show could be in store for folks here this weekend, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. Then, of course, on Monday night, you've got the championship game in college football. I'll tell you, Monday nights are hard, man. It's hard to have a fan base travel as much as they ask people to travel. And a Monday night in Houston is not going to be an easy thing, but there's a lot of excitement for Michigan and Washington fans, of course, on Monday. So a lot of things to look forward to this weekend. I think around here, basketball takes center stage, and I think they've got a real chance to do something pretty special around here. They've got some nice numbers up there on the board. We'll see if that can translate into wins.
Yes. Text on the Titan Mar text line from Daryl says, good morning. If players sign an NIL deal, they should have in their contract, they have to play every game. Maybe this would prevent opting out. Yes, in reality, I agree with that. But the issue is there's no regulations to the NIL. So basically, if JC goes to a school and it doesn't have that stipulation in it, I go to a school that says you must play in all the games, all the players are going to go to the other contract.
Right. Yeah.
So it's free agency with no rules is all it is, and it's going to continue. Alabama's got a lot of people in the transfer portal. Georgia does. Yeah. The Ole Miss people had no idea that Quinshon Judkins was going to go, but obviously Auburn's been in his ear. He will, from what I've been told, he will be Auburn's running back next year.
I mean, that's just blatant tampering, and that's what.
Well, every player that is in the transfer portal has been tampered with.
Yes, I know, and to me, that's the issue. You don't have that in the NFL. You can't have that in the NFL. That's not allowed. There are contractual obligations. Here we have none. It's like you said, it's kind of the wild, wild west, and they're just shooting and riding. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. I mean, that's it's just whatever deal this kid thinks is best for him is what he's going to take. So until that changes, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do with their life, QB. I mean, you can't do that.
Well, nobody's asking you to tell them. I mean, it's just college football is a mess. Not just college football, every sport. I saw where the quarterback for Oklahoma State will be going back to Oklahoma State for his 7th year. He started his career at Texas Tech, JC. Do you know who his head coach was at Texas Tech at that time?
7 years ago?
Yes.
Well, maybe if I thought about it, but not off the top of
But I
my
mean,
head.
just when I give you this name, just think about how long this guy has been away from Texas Tech. He's
Okay.
already been fired from his next job.
Cliff
Cliff
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury was his coach his first
Yeah.
year. Think about that.
Well,
And he's still playing college football.
yeah, I think, obviously the COVID thing has a lot to do with that. But sure, it's crazy. Eligibility rules, standards, all of these are thrown out the window. But if you say it's a mess, then you are saying that there needs to be some sort of guardrail. And again, I can't say what that is until these people that are in this business fix it. I don't know what the answer is.
J&J Trucking on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says rumors have it that Jackson Dart may head out too. I guess during the interviews before the bowl game, both said they didn't know if they would be back, had to meet with their family and make the best decision. Well, Jackson Dart's already transferred once. This would be, if he left, it'd be his second transfer.
That's
so
right.
he'd have to be a graduate guy, I guess. Yeah. Gene on Facebook Live wants to know, is JC the greatest Rams, Cowboys, Jags, Steelers fan ever?
That's exactly, Gene, it's great, isn't it? I like the playoffs that are coming. I picked the Steelers today because I can't believe they're still playing for something. But the situation with the Steelers is a guy named Mason Rudolph, who has come out of the recycle bin and really been quite a spark for that team offensively. They're getting some players back. I think they're going to beat Baltimore this weekend because the Ravens are going to rest people, don't need to win. And I think they're going to somehow make the playoffs, which to me is stunning, the Steelers. I mean, the team could score 10 points in a game, found Mason Rudolph, and look at them go. So they helped my Rams out last week by beating Seattle. Love that. Go Steelers.
Yeah. All right, so we'll give a shout out here. Joseph, who listens to the show, is getting married tomorrow. Hopefully he doesn't hit the transfer portal between now and Saturday. Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Hopefully the wife doesn't hit it after marriage. So, or for Joseph. So good luck, Joseph. Good luck.
Manny says, here's a good question on Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Light. Says, QB, I know you're a booster, but do former players give back? You hardly ever hear about large donations from big stars of millions of dollars in their salaries. There's several former players that are former boosters from all ages, different types of boosters. But I don't know if there's ever been. I do know Scott Bryan, who was a lineman. I want to say he was on the '96 national championship team. Didn't play a whole lot, but he's a very successful builder in the Orlando area. I think his company builds all the Amazon warehouses around the country, or maybe something like that. He's a big donor. His name is on a lot of stuff in the new facility, but I don't think you see that from any players anywhere, not just the Gators. JC, Alabama players giving a lot of money to the program?
Yeah, I wouldn't know, QB. Honest to God, I would have no idea. I would bet that a guy like, let's say, that like maybe Brad Culpepper may do some advertising. I don't know. No. Okay.
No.
Or his firm? No. Well, I don't have any idea. I would just point at guys who are successful in the business world after playing football, doing something. Maybe the Mannings, help out their schools.
They gave a little bit of money. I know Archie and Eli. Now I don't know if they gave any money, but their name is on their facility. It's just like the indoor facility at South Carolina is the Steve and Jerry Spurrier indoor field house or whatever it's called. Yeah. They didn't put any money into that. Somebody like JC donated the money and put their name on it. So anyway,
it does. It's a good question. I'd have to.
Nora wants to know, JC, have you ever been? He asked this. It seems like every day. So I just kind of never remember to ask you. Have you, Nora? He says, have you ever been to Max Drive-In Burgers downtown?
I got to get there because I've been told to go. And I think this is this may be the second or third time Nora's brought this up. I think. So it's obvious that I need to get
I've never been either.
I'm going to go.
I hardly ever go anywhere past, and hardly ever go anywhere east of the games of, I was going to say the Gainesville Country Club, of the University Golf Course. I never make it any farther than that.
Well,
Gene says Doring Mortgage. Doring buys a tent.
Yeah.
Which is a ridiculous amount of money on that silly, I call it Disco Row. for tailgating.
I like Disco Row, QB. Come on.
I hate it. It's too many damn people.
You go to Disco Row.
I don't go there.
You know?
No.
I've seen you at Disco Row once in the last 5 years.
Russell on YouTube, brought to you by Qualcomm, says, Shane, what if you had Batesy read a disclaimer in the beginning that the UAA has nothing to do with the NIL? Maybe we will, because JC, we have brought this up multiple times.
It's still
a lot of fans don't understand that the UAA has nothing to do with NIL.
Oh man, this NIL conversation, it's just well, look, all you can do is just say it. Whether folks believe it or hear it is up to them. It's private money, and there's an organization called a collective, and that's where the money goes, and then the collective gets involved in doing what they do. And some schools have been very good. I think Ole Miss has gone all in at really being aggressive in that endeavor, and some schools just aren't as aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know what translates.
I don't agree with that statement.
Oh, you don't? Why?
Well, it's hard to be aggressive when you don't have the money to pay what other people are paying.
Well, when I say aggressive, I'm saying they raise the money to get the money to pay the people.
Well, I think every school is trying that, but some
we
have
all
more
try
willing.
Some
have more willing participants.
QB, I tried to par a hole yesterday. It just didn't work. Okay, so we can try, but some are good at it or doing it well, and some aren't.
That's not true. You're not hearing what I'm saying, JC. It's just like in your business, you have a lot of clients. Some clients are willing to give you more money than your other clients are. It's no different in NIL.
Right, but the thing is that it's not all the same for everybody. Okay, I'll just say that. I'll leave it at that. I mean, some collectives.
Well, like I said on this show last week when you weren't here, I know for a fact Ole Miss has more money to give out in NIL than the Florida Gators.
Is that always going to be the case, you think?
I don't know that. I'm just saying as of today, and it is shown. Large Fry on YouTube says, who goes into the Ring of Honor first, Fred Taylor or Urban Meyer? Well, Urban's qualified. Fred is not qualified. The only way Fred's getting in is if he goes into the NFL Hall of Fame, which is so dumb to be a criteria for going into the college football's Ring of Honor. Makes no damn sense.
So who in the current Ring of Honor is not a Hall of Famer in the NFL?
Danny, Coach Spurrier,
and
Coach Spurrier,
and
Tebow.
Thank you. So, I mean, I don't know what that criteria
No,
means.
the criteria is you have to be a Heisman winner. You have to be in the college or NFL Hall of Fame.
Okay. Well, Jack Youngblood never won the Heisman. Wilbur Marshall never won the Heisman.
But he's in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Okay, so it's just one of those. Okay, it's not all.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You have to have them all. But my point to the whole thing is, I think it's absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
That what you do once you leave whatever school you're at should have no bearing on you going into that Ring of Honor or Hall of Fame. Because it doesn't matter what you do. It's what you did as a player there. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I know.
But I firmly believe Fred Taylor is the best running back I ever saw at the University of Florida. And I believe he should be in the Ring of Honor. But I also feel like Lomas Brown should be in the Ring of Honor, and he's not.
Right. Yeah.
Carlos Alvarez is not in the Ring of Honor, and he should.
Wes Chandler's not in the Ring of Honor. Listen, it's just I think a popularity thing to be more than anything. I don't know what makes that happen. Don't really care, to be honest. I just think it's what they feel like doing during the course of a year. Let's go honor somebody. I don't know. I mean,
and he says maybe Fred and Urban can go in together, and that will help drown out all the booing.
Is Fred better than Emmitt Smith?
I think he was.
Okay.
I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
At college, and Fred. I think Fred's like 10th or 11th all-time rushing for the sorry Jaguars.
Yeah.
I think if you would have put him in the Dallas offense,
well, right. Yeah.
1966 HBC beer is available at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the O-Dome, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager, 1966 HBC beer. Let me get to a couple of texts here on the Titan Mark text line.
Okay.
This is Chris from Cottondale. Says, been waiting for JC to come back to the show. Just want him to admit Harbaugh outcoached Saban. Don't get mad, JC. Just admit. And Shane, are you going to go back to calling Jalen Milroe TJ Yeldon? I think TJ Yeldon. I think Jalen Milroe got exposed in this game. I think Michigan had what, how many weeks did they have to prepare between the championship? About 3 weeks.
Right.
And they had all that tape. They gave him looks that he never redirected his protection. They weren't even blitzes. They were 4 and 5 man pressures. But he got exposed throwing the football. I think Michigan had a really good plan for him. JC, what do you think?
Well, I think with all of that, it's just that was just being said, in spite of everything, in spite of the ineptitude and inefficiency keeping him off the ground, they were still winning by a touchdown with 2 minutes to go. So you can say everything you want about who got the better coaching award that day or who did this or who did that. The simple fact is, if you hold them on 4th and 2, you're playing to a day after tomorrow. But they couldn't. And so Michigan made the plays when they had to. And Michigan also, I thought they did bring the safety a couple times and blitzed and made it uncomfortable for Jalen Milroe. And Alabama's offensive plan was very strange. I was hoping they would run the ball a little bit more effectively, or at least more often, instead of asking him to stand in the pocket. You know, when they lost to Texas, that looked very eerily similar to what they played like the other day in the Rose Bowl. But when they beat LSU and teams like that, he was a lot more active with his legs. And so I couldn't quite understand the game plan. But with all of that being said, this was one of his best coaching jobs this year because this was not one of his better teams. That, I think, is undeniable. And the fact that they were 2 minutes from playing in the national championship game, by the way, they won the SEC. So I'm proud of them. So what? Who cares who won the coaching job that day? The bottom line is they were winning by a touchdown with 2 minutes to go. Simple as that.
Well, they lost the game, and I thought Michigan had a good plan. And
no, Michigan. I'm not taking anything away from Michigan, but you brought up Alabama, not Michigan, or Chris did. So I think, again, this is a team that won the SEC that probably was not thought to have had a chance to do that in September. And Saban did a very good job this year. I think maybe one of his best with what he had to work with. 2 sophomores, 1 freshman, 1 junior, and 1 senior on the offensive line. So we'll just have to move on.
So 31 numbers, he's disputing me saying Fred Taylor's better than Emmett. And he says not one Cowboy O-lineman was named All-Pro. I'm pretty sure multiple of those guys were All-Pro.
I mean,
Larry Allen is considered the greatest offensive guard to ever play in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think that's wrong.
I think that's wrong too. I mean, the holes that they had for him to run through were so big.
Yeah, everybody says the Cowboys that span, they had the greatest offensive line in the history of the game.
Yeah, I mean those teams with Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson, they all won Super Bowls. And and look, Fred, you could say this: Emmett had a lousy Florida team to play for, which he did. They had no offensive identity whatsoever, and he still was very effective. Became a first-round draft pick. So you have to say that's amazing. But Fred played for a team that was good at sometimes and then not good at others, Jacksonville. So, who knows who's really, I guess, better. But I think they're both the most famous, 2 of the most famous players to ever walk on the field at Florida, and that's what matters to me. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll lay a lot of money on it. That was like an all-pro line they had with multiple top-notch NFL.
Well, Crawford. Curry, you had, you just look it up. You'll see the names. You'll recognize them.
Zach says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plumbing, is Jefferson's even on the Gators' radar? I seriously doubt it. We have a really good running back room right now, people. I'm just telling you. And I think a lot of money is not going to be paid, just like in the NFL, to running backs. And I'm sure Auburn's throwing him a lot more money than Ole Miss did. And so anyway, all right, we got some more text here I need to get to. Not sure. This is from Brett in Jacksonville. It says, good morning. I saw the linebacker Howard play against Nice, and he basically took over the game. He was everywhere. He's a very good player. Played a little bit for South Carolina this year. He will definitely help us. All About Blakely says the Cowboys is one of the greatest offensive lines of all time. It
Yeah,
was.
just look up the players. You'll see it.
Yeah.
I mean that team.
So
Troy,
again, it's a debate. Some people think Emmett's the best running back we ever had here. I think it's Fred Taylor.
Okay, so it's just flip a coin kind of thing for me. I don't know. I think again, Emmett played on some woefully bad offensive teams, and
Fred was so powerful and so fast.
And exactly. And I'll tell you another guy that people forget running the ball, who I voted for Heisman as in the third vote, was Eric Redd. I mean, Eric Redd.
Eric's was a very, very, very good. He's our all-time leading rusher.
Exactly.
But he was my running back, but I don't think he was anywhere near Fred Taylor. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customizable apparel. We got JC. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have not Scott Carter. We're going to have Chris Harry talk hoops.
Yeah, I mean, folks, I don't know. I know they beat that Quinnipiac team the other day. Not a big deal. Big deals are coming now. I mean, it's conference time. This is where you're going to find out what these guys are really, what they have. But I think they got a chance in some of these games, man. I love the way they're scoring. To me, QB, I've always said, you're going to win, you have to have two things: guard play and good offensive production. And that's tied together, obviously. But I think we may have that. We'll see. We'll see what they're about, because Kentucky's coming in for real. They're a real team.
Yeah, they have maybe my favorite player in college football, basketball, Reed Shepherd. His dad was Jeff Shepherd. He's a freak, phenomenal little player.
Yeah. Well, I like some of these wins Florida has. Again, like Kentucky, they're both on winning streaks, and they both have good guards.
All right, JC, are we going to do any Peachland Dental NFL picks?
We can do that. You were 6-5. I was 6-5 a week ago when we picked the bowl games.
I don't even remember what I picked. We picked bowl games.
I'll tell you some of the good ones you had. That let's say, for example, you took Wisconsin to cover against LSU. That worked out for you. But then you went around and took Iowa to cover against Tennessee. That did not work for you. And I had Washington, you had Texas, but you had who did you have that?
I had Wisconsin.
You had Maryland.
And Maryland.
Yeah, you had Maryland, Wisconsin. Very good. I mean, it's just another year. And in that year, Auburn once again embarrasses the SEC with their postseason play. I mean, Auburn is just that school that never wins bowl games and always looks bad doing it when they don't win. Auburn. Yeah. So, Hugh Freeze has got a big rebuild there. We'll see what they're looking like. This schedule coming up, this year coming up, I can't wait. This 24 is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievable with these playoffs, because as I was sitting out there in Pasadena and I saw everybody doing what they're doing and all the travel that was going on, I was thinking to myself, you're going to say to the top 4 seeds that if you're to win this, you have to play 3 neutral sites. It is a practical impossibility to ask a fan base to do that. And some folks are going to have to pick and choose where they go, hoping that they get to where they want to go. It's not real. It's not practical. There's so much money being spent. There's so much effort that's tied to it. I kind of have to be honest with you. I like being at the Rose Bowl, but what I didn't like was the amount of energy and expense and just time it took to be a part of that in the way that you would want to without just flying in and flying out. I talked to Chris before the game, Chris Doran. He had to take a red eye after the game. It's just, I mean, that's what he chose to do, but he
didn't have to. That's what.
Yeah, I know. He didn't have to.
When I took the red eye after we came back from playing golf in Utah after the Utah game, if you're gonna sleep, might as well sleep on a plane.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of folks do. But what I guess my point is that, man, it's a lot to do. It's a lot.
Did you enjoy? Andy wants to know, did you enjoy the sunset, JC?
Well, I wish I could have seen it, because the sunset, it went behind the mountain. I looked at it, and then we went from being warm to being very cold in the stadium there, because I was on the east side. So I got to see the sun go down. Yes, I did. I enjoyed it. I liked LA. I had a good time. There's good places and bad places in that part of the country, but man, it's a great place to watch a game. I think, I'm not so sure. The Rose Bowl is this, it's that, but it's a long damn way to go, and it's not cheap. And I just don't know how much it's worth doing that kind of thing unless you've never done it before. So that's it for me. I've done it twice. I won't be going back, but it's a great place to visit. It really is. It's just not the kind of place I'd want to live, but it's a great place to visit. It really is.
All right. Are you going to call out the game so we can pick them?
I'm sorry. Okay, well, I was kind of talking about my little trip there. Man, we also have some huge pivotal NFL games this weekend, QB. But we'll just look at the game on Monday, really, right? Are we gonna? I mean, we can talk about the NFL.
I don't think there's a Monday night game, is it?
It's called Washington and Michigan.
Oh, that game. I thought you were talking about the NFL.
No. In the NFL, they're done on Sunday. This is the last weekend. Some games matter, some games don't. But for teams like Pittsburgh and so forth, Jackson.
Well, I know the Sunday night game between the Dolphins and the Bills is for the AFC East, and there's a possibility if the Bills lose the game, they don't even make the playoffs.
No, they won't make the playoffs. Correct. That's right. The Dolphins did qualify for it, but their seeding is at question. And, losing to Baltimore last week really hurt them as far as being up at the number 2 spot. But there are big games involving positioning for certain teams. That is true. And Tampa Bay has to beat Carolina, for instance. And Jacksonville needs to win to stay on top there. But some teams like Kansas City have they can't improve their spot. I'll just do this, QB. The Bills are laying 3. They are the favorite. They are laying 3 at Miami on Sunday night. It's the headline game. Buffalo has to win, basically, which is kind of amazing. They're laying 3, and you're going to take them too.
Oh, I'm taking the Buffalo Bills because Miami. I don't know if Miami's beaten. I think the only team they've beaten that's worth a darn or has a winning record is the Cowboys.
Right.
And the Cowboys and the Dolphins are the same team to me. I would take Buffalo all day long in that game.
You got Buffalo then. I'm going to take the Dolphins just to be different, but I think the Dolphins at home have a little bit more of a chance. For some reason, I don't like them traveling this time of year. I don't like it at all. And then, we've got the Houston Texans and the Colts are trying to get in. Some of these games are important. They really are. The Browns are locked in as the 5 seed in the FC, and nobody wants to deal with the Browns right now. With Flacco getting his thing going and their defense, which is as good as there is. But let's just go with that game, and then let's take the game. Do you want to wait till Monday to do the
Yeah, we'll wait till Monday to do that game.
Okay, we'll do that game. Really, that's about it. Dallas can lock up the 2 seed if they beat Washington, which is shocking to me because Philadelphia lost to the Cardinals. But Dallas also lost to the Cardinals earlier in the season. Rams are playing the 49ers. A lot of guys not playing for both teams. Don't know if that's going to improve either, buddy. San Francisco's locked in as the 1. That's not going to change. Rams are locked in. Detroit's locked in at the 3. That's not going to change in the NFC. Tampa Bay has to beat Carolina. They're laying 4.5. You like Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think they'll
Not
win.
really.
They'll win.
That wasn't much of a convincing.
Well, I don't think that. I don't think that division's very good.
No, it's pretty bad. You're right. But the Saints stayed alive mathematically last week by beating Tampa Bay, and that was a big win for them. And that's pretty much it, QB. I'm sorry to say, but the game that everybody's going to watch is that Sunday night game. They flexed that game to the right position. Thank God it's not being streamed on Peacock, and I don't have to log in and sign up and register and 3-part authentication and all this crap. I think the streaming thing is going to eventually not be as popular as the networks think it is because people are getting sick and tired of A, password B, go over here to C, L. I mean, who the hell's got time for that? And I don't want to pay for that. I just throw it on cable. I'll pay for it that way. It's easier.
Tim on Facebook, brought to you by Melton Law, says, how did Michael Penix get out of Florida? I think he wanted to go to FSU. I know Tennessee initially gave him an offer. I think they took it away. He ended up going to Indiana, got hurt a bunch.
What a story. That guy has had 3 season-ending injuries in his college career. And he finished second in Heisman voting, which, is justified. And
he's a really good thrower of the football.
He's a really good thrower. Really good.
I don't know where he'll get drafted. He may go to he may not go to like the 3rd because they're going to pick him apart at the combine medically.
Oh,
with all those injuries.
What happened? Yeah,
really? Yeah. They don't not like guys that have a whole bunch of injuries.
Well, they didn't pick apart Tua. That guy went in the 1st round.
He didn't have 2 torn ACLs and other things.
No, he just had a lot of concussions and a hip surgery. But well, listen, I don't know. I think the guy's a really good football player. You're right. I mean, he's been hurt a lot. It's true, but he's a very good passer, man. He's very accurate. He's got the Washington Huskies at the brink of winning their first ever natty. And we'll see what Harbaugh's got in store for them. similar to what he had in store with Alabama. I mean, yeah, I think you had two really great semifinal games, games that went literally to the last play. So that's kind of what they've been looking for, and that's what they got. And that just kind of validates what their decision was back in December, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, JC, go watch that last play of the Alabama game and get on your chat boards and complain about the play calling and the blocking.
I'm over it. Oh man, I got over it the next day.
All right. We got to get to Chris Harry. That's JC. Join us on the Titan No More Hotline. We come back, we'll talk a little hoops. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Maybe my man Frank Stankunis, who owns Silverback, maybe he's the one that's throwing the money at Quinshawn Junkins there at Auburn. We're going to go to the Titan No More Hotline, and we are joined by the one and the only Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com on the Titan No More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. What's up, Chris? How you doing, bud?
Good morning, Shane. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for promoting little Florida basketball, which is got a big weekend this weekend.
Well, they went undefeated in December, correct?
That's right, 6-0. Mm-hmm.
First undefeated
month for the team in quite a while. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know if we've ever started conference play with the Big Blue Nation rolling into town, but should be a great environment. It's sold out Saturday in the O'Connell Center. Tell us a little bit about what you know about Kentucky for the people that haven't watched them.
Well, to answer your question, the last time Florida opened against Big Blue Nation was in 1998-99 season. Last time they opened SEC, rather. Got blown out by 35 up in Lexington. And that was the team that had Udonis Haslam, Mike Miller, Teddy Dupay as freshmen. And they went on and went 10-6 in the SEC and made the first NCAA tournament in several years under Billy. First one under Billy Donovan. And of course, that started that run of 14 straight. But as far as this Kentucky team is concerned, they come in at 11-2. They are one of the most lethal offensive teams in the country right now. They may look offensively a little bit like UConn looked when they came in here last year, which is kind of scary. You're talking about number 8 in total efficiency, number 9 in effective field goal percentage. Number 4, they don't turn the ball over. Number 4 in turnover percentage. And this is frightening. They're number 2 in the country, 41.6% from the 3-point line. And that could be a real problem for the Gators, considering the Gators defend. They're the 219th best team guarding at the 3-point line. Now they've done some stuff better, and Florida's playing pretty well right now. They're starting to get a feel for their rotation, Shane, and starting to get a feel of their chemistry and how to play together. But this is an outstanding team coming in. And I will say this though, Kentucky doesn't play great defense either, and Florida is playing pretty well offensively. And here's one more thing, and I like to talk about intangibles sometimes. Kentucky's only road game this season was at Louisville. Okay, Louisville's terrible. And it really wasn't a road game for them. You know, that place was filled with Kentucky fans. There'll be Kentucky fans in the O-Dome, obviously. Hopefully no more than, say, a quarter of them. But let's see how, again, a great freshman class, the number one freshman class in the country, as usual, coming in here. Let's see how they handle right out of the box a really good environment at the O'Connell Center against, maybe the best Florida team that's trotted out there in several seasons.
Yeah, I've seen Kentucky play a couple of times. This freshman class, he's always got really good athletic basketball players, but they couldn't score the ball. These guys can score. And Jeff Shepard's kid, who he was a couple of years behind me at Kentucky. I think they won a national title when he played there. Two. Yeah. His kid, Reed Shepard. I tell you, Chris, he's as good a basketball player as I've seen in a long time.
Well, I tell you what, so he doesn't even start. First of all, he comes off the bench. He and Rob Dillingham are their leading assist guys, and Rob Dillingham, another freshman, a McDonald's All-American. Reed Shepard is a joke, man. As Billy would say, he's a joke. He's a joke. He doesn't do anything wrong. I mean, I think he doesn't turn the ball over. He shoots 56% from three. I think 55 from two. I think he's number one in the league in steals per game, I think at 2.8. So this guy's a great player. Obviously plays starter minutes. I saw a crazy stat just a couple days ago. This century, I think, they do you've seen the plus minus box score, plus minus score, what the score is for the game when you're on the court. There's two freshmen in college basketball this century that have a better plus minus than Reed Shepard does this year. The first is Zion Williamson. The other is Anthony Davis.
Pretty good players.
Obviously his team plays well when he's on the floor, and he obviously has a lot to do with that. Another, let's not sell short. They have a 5th-year senior. They're kind of rare at Kentucky. I mean, they didn't have him at all a few years ago, but now with the transfer portal the way it is, Antonio Reeves was there last year. He was a transfer from Illinois State. He actually thought about going back to Illinois State over in the offseason. He's back. I think he's number 2 in the league in scoring at 19 points a game. So, again, a lot of – I mean, the Kentucky fans are excited about this team. They've been on up John Calipari's backside the last few years. They haven't won an NCAA tournament game, I think, since 2018. Or, excuse me, they've only won one since 2018. They've had a couple first-round, obviously the St. Peter's exit a couple years ago. So they're excited about this particular team because they're pleasant to watch. And having said all that, I think Gator fans are excited about this Florida team because I think they're an exciting team that plays fast, one of the fastest teams in the country, and can score the ball as opposed to some teams of recent note.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a fun team to watch. Andy's question for you, Chris, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, is: can the Gators be a consistent winner without Riley Kugel being a key contributor?
Well, I mean, I think that has to do a lot more than anything else with Riley Kugel. It's not that he hasn't been given opportunities. His first game, I think, in 26 games that he didn't start was the last one. He missed the game before the holidays with he had a sore foot. They played really well. Zion Pullen has taken his place in the starting lineup, and the guy's been fantastic. I think he's got 46 assists and just 13 turnovers this season. I think that's around 3rd or 4th in the country right now. But Riley's missed his last 23 point shots going back 4 games. He's shooting around 25% on the season. He's guarding at a high level when he's in the game. But right now, I think a lot of this is between his ears. Where his deal is, last year he was so good because of the way Florida played, and he was one of their only scoring options with the ball last year. Once Castleton got out of was lost for the season, they just kind of gave him the ball and spread out and let him do his thing. Right now, they're running a lot more structured stuff because they got better players, more offensive options. On any given night, any of these guys, Shane, can go out and score 20 points. I think they have 5 guys on the team right now who scored at least 20 in a game. So it's not a Riley Kugel dependent offense. And, quite frankly, they've been a lot better when he's not in the game. And again, that's not to say this guy can't help them, because he can. But they can put on the tape and show him, look, play to your role, play to this team's role. Because I think once he embraces that he can be just a role player on the team and he can play that role, he will have a breakout game eventually, because he's just too talented not for that to happen. But he's got to figure some things out for himself. And in the interim, while he's trying to figure them out himself, I think the coaches are figuring some things out for him and saying, we'll play you when we think you're ready to play right now.
Yeah. Chris, they always talk about postseason play, and obviously we're just kicking off SEC play, but it's going to be crucial in conference play, is guard play. I love these 2 guards, Pullen and Clayton. They're just guys that they just make plays. They're the guys you want to have the ball in their hands. How do you see them progressing going through league play now?
Well, Walter Clayton comes from Iona. He was a player of the year in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference last year. I think he's figuring some things out as far as high major play. He's certainly a high major player. No high major program recruited him out of Bartow High School, but he's going to play a lot. He's a really good shooter. I think he got off to a little bit of a slow start. He's had some splash games though. He scored, I think, 27 against Pitt. I think made 5 threes in that game. And alongside Zion Pullen, who, I mentioned his assist to turnover ratio, but the guy is a physical player who can get in the paint and do some things once he's in the paint. And he's a really, really strong physical defensive player, which I think is going to help them in this Kentucky environment. You talk about how it's going to play out over the course of the season. Well, I assume you're going to ask me about the Southeastern Conference. It's a brutal league this year, man. I got a story that will go up in a couple hours, kind of previewing the league and looking at some things in the league, trends in the league and what have you. You can go to floridagators.com and see that and see where this league breaks down. But all you need to know is, Ole Miss is one of 2 undefeated teams in the country right now at 13-0. And I think they're not even in the top 70, I think, in the net right now. So it's a very strong league with some very compelling players, or some outstanding players as compelling storylines. The league, however it goes, is gonna play itself out. But I think the Gators are more loaded, or in terms of tooled up to have more success this season than certainly last season and the season before that. I'll say this: they haven't had a losing season in league play, Shane, since Billy Donovan's last year here. And right now they're 10-3. If they can break even, or maybe be 10-8 in the league this year, they'll be an NCAA tournament team. I have no doubt about that. But certainly they aspire to winning more games than that.
That's an interesting stat. I wouldn't realize that. Have not had a losing season. Wow.
Last year they were 9-9 in the league, and 2 teams that were 8-10 went to the tournament, and they didn't. So so that they've held their own in the league and won games that they're supposed to win. They need to do that this season.
Rose Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. A few more minutes with Chris Harry on the Titan Moore Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. JB wants to know, how would you rank our big men, Chris?
How would I rank our big men? Tyree Samuels first. God, if he could just shoot 10% free throws better, I think he's right around 52, 53%. And he gets to the line a ton, most on the team. Micah Hanlockton is the starting 5-man at 7-1, but obviously I think this question is rooted in where do I rate Alex Condon, who has just been, a godsend for this team, and he's going to be a godsend for this program. he's just tapping scratching the surface of who he can be. He needs, once he gets an off season of being able to build his body up and maybe marry that Australian rules football mentality that he grew up with to basketball a little more. I think he's only been playing basketball 3 or 4 years, but he's a terrific player. I think he's playing 18 minutes a game or something like that, and I think he's 6th in the league in rebounding. And Thomas Hawk is another guy who comes off the bench, and he's an outstanding rebounder. Who's another guy who just hasn't caught up physically to the league. But if you talk about Micah, you talk about Alex, and you talk about Tommy, those are 3 really good baselines from which this team can build in its front court. But Samuel, like I said, leads the SEC in field goal percentage, and I think it's 6'10" with a 7'4" wingspan. He has an NBA body right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing him match up against these young Kentucky players tomorrow, because he's a grown ass man versus these guys who are just freshmen.
Yeah, it seems like watching the games and all the people we've talked about, it's a deep roster. He plays a lot of guys. Do you think that shrinks come conference play? Some guys get some minutes taken away?
Well, I mean, you already asked me about Riley Kugel, and you've seen what's gone on there, and that remains to be seen. I think somebody who they just can't ignore anymore, because he's just too good on a day-to-day basis, and his attitude's been fantastic, and in practice he does everything they're supposed to. Is Denzel Aberdeen, and he was Riley Kugel's teammate at Orlando Dr. Phillips, where they won a state championship down there. He's somebody to be excited about as far as the future in terms of in the backcourt. He just needs to improve his defense some more and just play a little more under control, which he really, really has. He's done everything they've asked of him. I don't know how much bigger it can get. Todd likes to play 8 or 9 in conference play. So obviously that can change with foul trouble and what have you. A guy that maybe they'd like to get a few more rips, as Todd would say, in a game is Julian Rishwing, because he can really shoot the ball. He's probably a career 40% 3-point shooter. Makes winning play. He's a smart player too. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. There's only so many minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And in terms of how the game goes, maybe the rotation will get a little bigger, but I don't know who else on that rotation. They only got 12 guys on scholarship now. Alex Shimsick isn't available yet. That makes 11. Riley Kugel shooting 24%. That's how much you want to play him. So I don't know how much bigger the rotation can get right now.
I think you mentioned this earlier. John wants to know what's a good SEC record for Florida to make the dance. Didn't you say 10-8?
I think 9-9 gets them in shape. And like I said, remember 8-10 got 2 teams in last year. Now they had some good non-conference wins. Arkansas, Missouri, was it Missouri? I think it might have been Missouri. I'm not 100% sure, but there were 2 8-10 teams that maybe Mississippi State that made the tournament. But 19 wins, 20 wins in playing in this league will get them in. And last year they were 7-5 through non-conference, or 7-6, something like that. And they lost their SEC opener at Auburn. So this is just a tremendous opportunity when you think about it with the sold out O-Dome, the Kentucky team coming in. People are excited. People are kind of thirsting for some Gator success. Would you agree with that, Shane, right now? In something
yes.
coming off the fall?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this team they can get behind.
Yeah, for sure. Bob's got a text here on the Titan Mark text line. This says, Chris, how was your experience as the color analyst on the radio? Should Shane be worried for football season?
No, Shane has nothing to worry about, and Lee Humphrey has nothing to worry about. That the circumstances were a little strange. Didn't I get a text from you in the middle of the game? Are you doing radio or something?
Yeah, I forgot where that was on. I was riding home.
I think you're coming back from golf, you said, or something.
And I heard, Sean Kelly doing his play-by-play, and then you throw in there so-and-so's 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. I go, was that Chris Harry?
Well, Lee Humphrey couldn't make it because he had a sore back and didn't want to make that drive from Jacksonville down to Miami. And Sean was dealing with a significant case of laryngitis. Like, he had 2 trainers tending to him, giving him vitamin C or whatever the hell they were giving him to try to get it. He goes, I need you. I go, I've never done it. I thought he was kidding. He goes, you understand. You need to do this. And I was like, well, I got to help a guy out. And so, no, neither of you guys have anything to worry about. I don't think.
Yeah, that would have been crazy if he couldn't talk at all. Would
I
you
didn't
have
get
taken
paid
over as the
extra for
play-by-play
that.
guy?
Don't you think? Don't you get paid? Don't you get paid for doing color
Yeah, they need to send you the
analysis?
check. Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
they probably sent the check to Lee Humphrey
They
on
probably,
accident.
yeah, they probably did. Yeah.
All right, Chris, we appreciate you. Let everybody know again, you got a good story coming out on FloridaGators.com.
Yeah, FloridaGators.com is the website to go to. Like I said, I always do a pregame stuff that got the nuts and bolts, tell about the upcoming game. But today is my SEC primer to get everybody ready, not only for this game, but take a kind of snapshot of what it looks like around the league, and that'll be posted on Twitter at Gators Chris. So thank you very much for
Appreciate
having
your
me on,
time, my
Shane.
man.
All right, take care, man. Thanks.
All
Happy
right,
New Year
that's
to you
Chris
guys.
Harry. Chris Harry joins us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy at Duffield Home Improvements. Let's get to this day in sports, which is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This day in sports, in 2007, Bill Cowher resigns as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin takes over and he has never had a losing record, and they still may make the playoffs, which is crazy because they're a bad football team, it seems like the Steelers are. So that's this day in sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. 31 Ember on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, if you had to draft Michael Penix or Caleb Williams based solely on ability and ignoring injuries, who's your pick? Ooh, that's a good one. I think Caleb Williams is really, really talented. Boy, I'd have to really watch some more tape on both of them. If I was coaching them and had to choose, I probably would lean towards the right-hander because it's easier to demonstrate and picture things from a right-hander's perspective. But I hope Michael Penix gets a good opportunity in the NFL. I think he will. I mean, he's very, very talented, but I just know with those injuries that he's had, I hope they don't hold it too much against him. Andy asks, is Tomlin a Hall of Famer? He might be. I mean, he's never lost. Does he have one Super Bowl? I can't remember how many Super Bowls he's won, but yeah, he won. So he's been to two, won one, lost one. Okay.